Yes, good evening to you all. I'm so delighted to welcome you to this episode of the summit. And we are always talking to experts and thought leaders to unpack the issues shaping either our nation or the world at large. Now, in recent remarks during the RPF Bureau Politique Meeting, His Excellency President Paul Kagame underscored the importance of national sovereignty, self-reliance, regional peace, and ensuring that Rwanda continues to make decisions guided by its own interests in an increasingly complex global environment. Now, his message raises an important question. What does geopolitics mean for Rwanda today? As global alliances evolve, regional conflicts continue, and economic and security interests become increasingly interconnected, how should Rwanda position itself? What opportunities and challenges lie ahead, and how can the country continue to be able to contribute to peace while safeguarding its own national interests? Some answers and questions that we're going to be hearing on today's panel. Now, joining us to unpack these questions are two distinguished guests. I'll start with my near left. This is Honorable Mutabingwa Alois, former Deputy Secretary General of the East African Community, former Special Envoy of Rwanda to the UN International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, international arbitrator, and senior advocate with decades of experience in regional integration, diplomacy, and international law. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Martina.
Yes. Last but not least, we are joined by Dr. Alice Urusaro Uwagaga Karekezi, scholar, peace-building expert, and co-founder of the Center for Genocide and Conflict Studies at the University of Rwanda, whose work spans peace and security, transitional justice, regional stability, and African-led approaches to conflict transformation. Thank you for joining us here.
My pleasure.
Yes, like I reiterated earlier on as I began the show, this episode or this conversation is inspired by some remarks that His Excellency was able to speak on at the RPF Bureau Politique Meeting, speaking on sovereignty, self-reliance as a country, continuing to put forward the peace that the country has built over the past 32 years, and so on and so forth. So I will start off with you, Honorable Mutabingwa. To begin, many people hear the word geopolitics, but do not fully understand it. There are some that do, but there are also the typical Rwandan or a civilian who might not fully grasp the definition of this. In simple terms, what does geopolitics mean, and why should an ordinary Rwandan citizen care about it?
Maybe we start by understanding whether people understand the word politics.
True.
So that the geo side of politics can be digested.
Yeah.
First, it's about politics. And it's also about politics within a given geographical setting. It becomes geo maybe because of neighborhoods. When we are referring to geo today, of the political side, it is about politics within the neighboring states. So it brings into the equation the states and state relations. The politics within states and the politics affecting relations between states. So, should I define the word politics?
Yes, please.
Politics is about people, relations, the good side and the bad side, resolving issues and upholding cordial relations between people, determining a future from a common front, determining modes of governance and shaping a destiny from a common front. People normally say, I'm not a politician, but whether you're a politician or not, you will still be a political animal, because what happens to you, what affects your life, affects others' life, either from you or from others. And that's where the term politics is, finds ground. So it's about how societies are built and how they are governed, how their destiny is shaped, and how they determine their way forward towards a destiny together. So from individuals to families to nations, of course, it used to be ethnic groups and then national states, and I'm referring to the history.
Yes.
But that is what the totality constitutes what we call policy, direction, political agenda, and strategies, plans, and implementation, taking from the national levels to individual levels. That's about politics and policy frameworks. So when we are talking about geopolitics, we are referring to that totality in relation to what is happening between one state and a number of other states. Today, we are not referring to geopolitics only by geographical determination of neighborhoods, like what you're going to be asking about, to refer to the Great Lakes region. We are also looking at the globe from a geopolitical alignments and perspectives. We'll get to that later.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the second half of this question. Why should the ordinary citizen care about what is going on in the region in the political point of view?
It has a direct and an irrevocable impact on the life of an individual. What happens at the geopolitical level can happen to you individually. We are already seeing the geopolitics globally that are affecting food prices, for example, fuel prices, for example. Is that not personal? So it's not something anyone can take for granted or prefer to keep ignorant about. That's why this kind of a conversation is very important.
Thank you for that. Over to you, Dr. Alice. Much of your work, like I alluded to in your introduction, has focused on peace building and conflict transformation. How do peace and security fit into today's geopolitical landscape?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me and for having this conversation, because sometimes when we hear about geopolitics, we find it very remote. Because it always evokes a dimension of international arena. And when we speak about international arenas, we tend to emphasize the international actors as superpowers and not ourselves.
Yes.
So and geopolitics have always impacted on peace and security and economy, the rest. Perhaps the concern today is that we are in a particularly volatile, more volatile than it used to be, because the status of international arena is never a stable place where things do not happen. They affect us sometimes remotely, but they constantly happen. So perhaps today what is noticeable and what again calls very much our attention is that we are coming towards the end of a transition that has dated back to the end of what they call the European wars that they call the world wars. Yes, with the elevation of the Pax Americana, an American peace, predominantly held by Americans, the United States of America, and also with the arrangements of the victorious powers of the time members of the Security Council of the United Nations, and the notion of collective security. So this collective security has evolved, of course, and one important turning point has been at the end of the Cold War, where we didn't see two superpowers competing with each other, but having the United States of America as the unipolar force. So slowly after, we've been shifting very slowly, as history does,
yes.
you know, from that unipolar, one single force that dominates. We have to recall that the Soviet Empire has collapsed in the process. The emerging powers of today, such as China, India, Brazil, were not yet very visible. So this is why it makes it very noticeable to us, and with the consequences that it brings, because most of the time when we speak about geopolitics, we forget to have a political economy perspective of it, because we believe that it's about politics, it's about geography, but the economic agenda, that is the driving force, is always hidden. So what is the situation today? In terms of economies, we are also transitioning dramatically. So this is a time when we speak about the dollar not only as the dominant currency, the currency that has been the lingua franca of all the global trade for a while. We are speaking about other currencies, and major powers are trading in other currencies. The nature of the industry that has been dominant is changing with a very AI, the prospect of going to live elsewhere and critical minerals. So if I bring it back to close to home, then that political economy put at the center some of the resources that Africa has for its most part, evoking the situation we had before the scramble for Africa. So this is why peace and security and the rest of the economy is terribly shaped by that. The notion of collective security is shrinking. It doesn't disappear because history doesn't allow brutal. What we understand as brutal changes are sometimes a long-standing process that comes to its manifestation.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to conclude on that, we are no longer sure that the collective security will prevail again. We have seen how very easily the legal framework, the normative frameworks, that was more declarative than real, but still is also shifting back. Yes, so peace and security is what this context will make it.
Yeah. Thank you for that information and also just outlining everything for our viewers to understand. Back to you, Honorable Mutabingwa. President Paul Kagame recently emphasized the importance of protecting Rwanda's sovereignty while engaging with the rest of the world. From your diplomatic experience, what does sovereignty look like in today's interconnected world?
The term, let me, before I assume that role of diplomacy, let me give it a meaning that is purely legal from the international law perspectives. Sovereignty dates back to the times around 16th and 17th century when history had taken societies to levels of nation states. And at the time, sovereignty was defined in the context of ruling bodies and particularly the monarchs within a given territory. So as time passed by, this sovereignty, and as a result of the French Revolution, the American Revolution, it evolved to another meaning. It was no longer about the monarch. It shifted to the people. And it assumed another meaning of a term called popular sovereignty. That is, sovereignty, by definition, being sovereignty of the people, by the people, and for the people. And it went on. It did not end there. Look at Africa and what happened to Africa. At the time, within the 18th century onwards, there was a scramble for and partitioning of Africa. And this partitioning of Africa, scrambling, continues even today. You can see it, black and white. But then the partitioning side of it started and ended between the Berlin Conference, the very popular, 1884, 85. But most people don't know that it didn't end with Berlin. Insofar as the region we are in is concerned, it continued around 1896. Another subdivision, almost like what we do with plots in the country, allocating your plot to live with. So another repartitioning happened within a tripartite arrangement between Britain, Germany, and Belgium to reallocate the UPI, the plot called Rwanda, to other neighboring states. Now, at the time, they were called colonial states. I'm still referring to the term sovereignty and statehood. Colonial states, African colonial states. So parts of it was allocated to Congo, parts of it allocated to the current Tanzania, and parts of it to the current Uganda. And that is what today, under the Cairo Declaration, 1961, that's what, when countries were becoming independent, flag independence coming to Africa, colonial powers preferring to assume a backseat, most of the countries in Africa, led by stooges of the colonial masters. Others, you know what happened between 1960 and 1970s, a wave of assassination, political assassinations across Africa, to wipe out any leader who is not towing the line of the colonial masters. That is the time when, out of wisdom, now I'm speaking diplomacy,
Yes.
out of wisdom, and in trying to uphold some cordial relations between African states and the colonial masters, the African states decided to respect the territorial boundaries created without Africans. I want to emphasize that point.
Yes.
Created without Africans. And that's the Cairo Declaration, saying we shall continue struggling for independence until the whole of the continent becomes independent, but respecting the geographical demarcations that are created from the Berlin Conference and other conferences that Africans were not involved. Today, I want to speak about, or speak to what you are actually interested in. It's about the popular sovereignty. It takes a dimension not only of a geographical territory, but a dimension of the people. People and a given geographical territory they occupy. Now, it's not enough until there was another concept that was developed called self-determination. And self-determination was commonly known by some philosophers until an American president, Wilson...
Churchill?
No, he has another complicated name, a little bit American.
Woodrow.
Woodrow, thank you, Woodrow. He elevated that understanding to another level, especially after the American and the French Revolution, and it was actually during after the First World War. And this is what came into record. Sovereignty, popular sovereignty, was aligned to self-determination because of the meaning that it should bear. And that is a meaning that bears 4 pillars. One is the people with a common identity, culture, language, a given territory. If there is any ethnicity, that is also part of it. That is about the people. Then you have a territory. Then you have a government. They determine how to govern themselves. And then you have a relation between those people in that territory with others within the vicinity and across the globe. And this is what defines popular or state sovereignty, which is stemming on the people and by the people themselves in a given territory. Now, do you know what it means? Mm-hmm. That came to actually conflict with the historical definition of what a state is from colonial times to what is happening today in the globe. You'll see that people are now getting to identify themselves. I'm not referring to what is happening in the region. It's happening across the globe. They're identifying themselves. And by identifying themselves, developing a way to live as a choice and determine what they belong to as a territory, it has generated a wave of conflicts. When you go to Iraq and Turkey, you'll find such people. Normally they are found on the borderlines. And they are always a subject of conflicts between states. Mm. I'm not going to refer to this region. I want you to understand that what is happening in this region is not African, it's global. By nature, it's how the architecture looks like. When you hear about America or the Americas, what does it mean? It's the people. It's a territory. And when you refer to Americas, it includes South America. But look at it. Now it's like there is a blockade of South Americans not to be allowed to be in America. Same for Europe. Europe used to be part of what is called Eurasia. But look at the paradigm shift. So let's go back to where we are. What is Congo? By that definition of what a popular sovereignty or sovereign state should mean, which includes the meaning of self-determination, try and apply that understanding on the DRC. Then you'll know what is wrong. Be it a territory, be it the people, be it identity. You know, one is east, another is west, another is south, another is north. And there are how many countries are in the neighborhood? Each country is having some commonalities with one segment of the people or the other. Today, Rwanda is blamed for Eastern Congo and the crisis in Eastern Congo. Don't you think I have already provided an answer?
Yeah.
The crisis in the Eastern Congo was nurtured, created, promoted, fomented, and exaggerated, not by those people in Congo, not by these people in Rwanda, but by the people who decided to partition Africa like a big chunk of land that should just have some plots to belong to some owners in Europe. But today it's not about Europe anymore. It's about the global tyrants, those who should own the lion's shares in the natural resources and command and control the people. Do I need to identify them? So you can continue.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that extensive answer, which has brought a lot of perspective into what sovereignty looks like in the current interconnected world, as well as touching on where or how it looked like from before. Back to you, Dr. Alice. You've written extensively on African-led approaches to peace building, which is something that you center on. Why is it important for African countries to develop solutions that reflect their own realities than relying solely on external approaches?
Well, I think he provided a very important background for that, that question of sovereignty.
Yes.
Especially now, perhaps what I would like to add briefly is that when you leave the normative framework of a collective security ideal to the pursuit of interest, very unapologetically, because that has never changed in reality. The framework that allows country to pursue the interest in the most overt manner, as we do now, as we've been seeing actually in the case of Iraq, in the case of Iran, and we are back to that. It so happens that those resources that are longed for live very well in the neighborhood. So protecting the interest of states and people and nations should be something permanent. I think it comes from the ideas that African states and other states for that matter have collective and individual interests. So most of the time, countries pursue the interest. So it should not be coming as a surprise. Perhaps it's only enhanced now because we are living the time we are living with those shifts in normative ways of looking at the world. And the retreat of notions as interdependence. You would see great powers competing again for those critical resources through proxies. I think in the Great Lakes region we provide a very good example for that. But to stay on the issue of security, pursue the security and look for the solutions, because they are the primary actors to know, or who have to know what the interests are, how they converge with other actors' interests, and how they diverge. I think speeches of President Paul Kagame come back to the same thing for the last 3 decades. Yes, and more and more.
Thank you for that. Yes, you want to add something?
You actually understand now why he was told to shut up.
Which is what we're about to hear.
Why he's always told to mind his business. But what is his business exactly? If we are referring to the people, are these not his people? What if they turn again, playing the normal double standards, and refer to people in Congo as his people? On one hand, they're saying, don't say anything about people in Congo. On another hand, they say, these are your people, when they start identifying them as Rwandans. So which is which? This is the frustrating experience our dear president is going through as a top diplomat of this country. Speaking about diplomacy, we are caught between a rock and a hard surface. We are damned whether we do it or we don't do it. The responsibility to protect is one of the UN's working principle. Protecting the lives of the people of this world, upholding peace, security, and stability, like what my sister is saying here. But look at it. When it's about someone's peace, security, and stability, if it is measured against the resources, to hell with the life. I want this to be recorded clearly. When it is a choice between resources, between the economic gains and the life of a human being, the life of a human being gets forfeited. And if there is any blame that comes onto the administration of this country, it is the overemphasis to the life of a human being, as opposed to other interests that are economic. Because it's as if we are being requested here that insofar as the Eastern Congo is rich in resources, economic resources, we should forget about the people living there. Even if we have commonalities historically, we have commonalities even in the atrocities, the genocide that took place here. The life of this country is at stake. Now, talking about the geopolitics, the life of this country is at stake if the problem was shifted to Congo and becoming a hotbed for preparing another wave of wiping out the people of this country, and possibly starting with the Congo itself. So, if anyone is told to keep quiet, what is that silence called for?
True.
It's called for cleaning up the area, leaving the resources without people, without owners, and therefore being available through what we call in law adverse possession. Anyone who finds an asset without the owner claims adverse possession. That's what I'm assuming. But because there is Kinshasa, the definition of sovereignty and state determination that I talked about does not apply to Kinshasa. It doesn't work when it comes to the political or socio-economic fabric that is for Congo. Every time, maybe except the times of Lumumba, that's when the Congo that is supposed to be seen as such, as a sovereign popularly, as a self-determining nation, that is where there was some attempt to shape it up. But nobody liked it. That's why he died. So any African who is looking for a solution for Africans is not good for living. And it's time for Africa. They normally call it a sleeping giant. Until this sleeping giant wakes up, we are not going to be spared. If this is left to individuals, like our president, left to some other individuals who understand and get deeply concerned, we are going to leave Africa, not ourselves as humans, but at least leaving Africa as a place full of resources with nobody to own. And this has already happened. We have records, economic records. The global side of things and the global politics, which she alluded to, the unipolar side, was still leaving this continent in the poverty and at each time and stage getting worse just because of surrendering its own economic rights and economic sovereignty to those who have the military might and the political might. Those are called tyrants.
Yes.
But who said this is perpetual? This is how God shaped Africans? It's not. It's just a choice. We need leaders who can stand tall and speak for the people, protect the people, and then the rest can follow.
Yes. Thank you for introducing that. For reference on some of the things he spoke about earlier, throughout this conversation, we've been speaking about the concept of geopolitics and how it shapes the country's decisions. However, also recently during the RPF's Bureau Politique Meeting, His Excellency President Paul Kagame spoke passionately about Rwanda's sovereignty, security, and the country's determination to defend its national interests, and which is some of the things that we were also speaking about. So let's take a look at the clip. We'll be right back with conversations following that.
Making people shut up, just shut up, I think it's going to be probably more difficult than people think. To say we will support those who want to come and kill you, or like they killed you last time, or we will handle it the way we want, so shut up. Well, I only shut up when I'm dead. That's when I'm coming. Absolutely. That is the only way to make me shut up. That's it. For the belittling everything and making it look like some people's lives are just maybe, I don't know. It's not my politics. It's not RPF's politics. We're a small country, very insignificant in many ways. You can do much harm to us, granted, but boy, wishing us away is not a big thing, it's not a small thing.
Yes, so Dr. Alice, if I may ask, throughout his speech, His Excellency President Paul Kagame spoke about the harm that has been done to Rwandans, but also spoke on Rwanda's history and the importance of ensuring that what had been done to the country, what has happened before, is never repeated. From the perspective of peace building and conflict prevention, how do historical experiences shape a country's foreign policy as well as security priorities?
Well, I will speak not so much about every other country because we have already alluded to the fact that it is to be expected that countries will pursue their own interests. In the case of Rwanda, I think we have gone through hell and came back. And the experience of being pushed, tested to the limit, it's not completely unknown in our recent history. At least for those who have 30 years, 32 years and plus, they've lived at least part of it. This has created, on the part of Rwanda, the need to steadily prioritize stability and security. Post-genocide Rwanda is the result of a nation, a people transforms almost in ashes that has walked through its rebirth. And that has been at the cost of tranquility and letting things be done, depend on chance. It has been the hard work of our leaders, chief among them, the President of the Republic, Paul Kagame, and his companions of struggle. You have to go back to '94 in the aftermath of the genocide. And the situation we are in reminds me a little bit of that. When the very existence of a people is at risk of annihilation, extermination, and where the denial of important actors, those who have might, those who have the possibility not only to stop, to prevent, to stop, and even to mitigate when it comes. That lonely place, Rwanda has been there, very much so. And I can recall moments where it was requested that Rwanda, the successor state, pays for the debt of, including the guns, the weapons. So in its essence, what we are living today is not totally stranger. It was there 32 years ago. Perhaps what has changed, what is the question, is because the actors, their leadership is also aging and the youth is coming up. Perhaps the crucial question is how prepared is our youth to embrace those struggles and to pursue them with the same clarity, knowing where is the center of gravity, what our scheme of maneuver, and what the end state in a way. So this is what I think we are faced with. Perhaps on the positive notes, we would say we have experienced that, we have gone through that, and got the T-shirt for that, and how to navigate now the current situation, how to navigate it with the experience of the interest that always prevail, as it is the case now, and also knowing that we have to be self-reliant, we have to remain strategic as a small country that is caught in between all those struggles, the interest and the actors. How Rwandans create a scheme of maneuver so as to navigate that very unpredictable times where peace and security are very volatile,
yes,
and the actors are still emerging. We don't know who will be, because in between you have all the emerging powers that are coming and so on. So it's very much a time of reflection, deep reflection, and to gather the energy, the clarity that has characterized the early 90s.
Yes, thank you for that. And we'll be speaking more on self-reliance as we are heading to the conclusion. We're going to hear another part of the speech. But before we head on to that, briefly, Honorable Mutabingwa, Rwanda is often described as a small country. Dr. Alice has also spoken about that, with global or growing global influence. From your experience, what has enabled Rwanda to have such a strong voice on regional and international platforms?
First of all, we need to have a common understanding of what is small about Rwanda. There are many countries around the globe that could be smaller than Rwanda, but bigger economically and in terms of impact. So what is small about Rwanda? What is small about Rwanda is a geographical territory and natural resources. But Rwandans are not small in their thinking, in their understanding about life, the understanding about their destiny. They were taught the hardest way to be probably bigger than those who think big is about a territory, big is about the amount of resources around you. So these Rwandans, over the past to date, I'm pretty confident that the majority are thinking like me. They are just quiet and they stay focused. By the way, our president is emulated big time, not only by Rwandans, but across the continent. When I said people have commonly referred to this continent as a sleeping giant, it has not remained snoring. We can see pockets of waking up. And that is what is the problem between Rwanda as a state and those who don't like sleeping dogs not to remain lying is to keep sleeping dogs lying, especially, I'm sorry, I'm using the term dogs, but this is the English term.
It's a metaphor.
Especially, and with a very particular focus of what is called sub-Saharan Africa, because that is a place full of investable resources, untapped, lying there almost without ownership. We are all running to the West to declare, to announce, request for anyone to come and take them. Hello, didn't you see a letter just recently from one of the capitals telling one of the big powers that if he takes time, there is another big power who looks like can take it all. Now, are these resources good for taking by others? This is what brings the phenomena of what are these armed conflicts around the world. The today's wars, probably apart from our problem around the region, is the petrodollar struggle. Yes. Someone was handpicked from a country in the Americas, taken to court in America.
Yeah.
We are still waiting to follow the proceedings, the court proceedings. But behind there, the problem that was being fixed is an economic problem. Not the people of that country where this man was taken from. It's not solving their problem, except saying jobs will be created. Is to take the resources and sign and execute contracts. Okay?
Yes.
You'll also find it in other places. You'll also see in the debates, international debates, after an armed conflict, when a government is toppled, normally it's to say whose countries are going to be given contracts to rebuild. What is this rebuilding about? And why is it that it becomes another cause for competition? I thought rebuilding is supposed to be philanthropic.
Yes.
But it's not the case. So in total, and take it seriously, armed conflicts, military solutions are also economic. And the problem to some of us is that we understand and we are trying to find our strategic posture in the middle of a global crisis. This is the only case we have to answer.
That's definitely eye-opening, and hence why such conversations are important. Now, we're coming to the end of the conversation, unfortunately, but throughout today's discussion, we've explored the changing geopolitical landscape, Rwanda's position within it, and the importance of sovereignty, diplomacy, and regional cooperation. But geopolitics isn't only about the challenges that the country is facing, but it is also about nations responding to those challenges. Now, in another moment from his address at the RPF Bureau Politique Meeting, His Excellency President Paul Kagame reflected on resilience, perseverance, and determination to keep moving forward despite the setbacks. Let's take a look and we'll be right back.
Things will not always be as we want them to be. That's maybe another world. But in this world, things will not always be all right, as we wish. So what do we do? There is one sure way of making a difference. Keep trying. Keep trying even when you fail, try again. Try again. Be stubborn about it. Be stubborn about trying. Don't go away, even if some people would wish you to go away. Just refuse. You stay and say, I am not going anywhere. I'll just try until I get it right. And you know very well, we have tried so many things, so many times. Some we have failed, others for sure we have succeeded. That is the only sure way of making progress.
Yes, and fortunately for us Rwandans and the African continent, His Excellency is always dropping some gems throughout his speeches, and we need to keep trying. Lastly, in a few seconds, I'll start with you, Honorable Mutabingwa. If there is one lesson Rwanda's journey offers to other countries navigating today's complex geopolitical environment, what would it be?
Stand our ground. We shall stand our ground because it's not even an option. We are standing our ground because it's a choice between life and death. So this is what he's saying. It's not about trying. It's not even about trying again and being stubborn. It's about being stubborn to survive. The only survival is what has taken us, the survival instincts are the ones that have taken us to these 32 years.
Yes.
And if there is anything that the world has taught us, is to survive at any cost and in any situation.
Yes, no matter what.
And this is what, looking back and forth, this is what I can take as, I can give you as a parting shot.
Thank you very much for that. Dr. Alice, in a few seconds, finally, if Rwanda is to continue strengthening its position internationally, what role should young people or researchers and future leaders play?
I will just say as a whole, maintain the clarity of purpose. What is our end state? What is it that we are looking for? What are our interests? To pursue them with perseverance and consistently. We have always to try to outbeat the best.
Yes.
And to remain focused. Most of what they praise Rwanda for, most of our policy directions were controversial when Rwanda was starting them. The perseverance and consistency of Rwandans and Rwandan leadership, for that matter, has brought the result that we see today. We still have a long journey and a luta continua.
Yes. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we will definitely have a part 2. Thank you to Honorable Mutabingwa Alois and Dr. Alice Karekezi for sharing your insights and for helping us better understand how geopolitics shapes not only international affairs, but also Rwanda's development, security, as well as the future. And thank you to our viewers of the summit. We'll see you next time. And thank you for joining us in this very timely conversation. My name is Martina Avera, and I'll see you next time.